You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Everybody, that music means we are back once again, rolling out not the pro Q&A hot seat that comes at you tomorrow with our buddy Mr. Vixologist tackling all of your ball questions, but today we're rolling out the interview hot seat to get the pulse of some of the interesting new developments, new firms, new things that are shaking up the world of options. And I'm pleased to be joined today on the old interview hot seat by two newcomers to the program and indeed to the network. They are Ben Colabella and Dillon Del Rosso, the co-founders over there at PeakBot. Gentlemen, welcome to the Options Insider Radio Network.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having us on. We're excited to be here.
And gentlemen, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers here on the network, why don't we go ahead and give our audience a bit of an overview of your background in the world of options and derivatives, and then how you found your way to starting PeakBot. I guess we'll go in order. Ben, we'll start with you.
All right, let's do it. So I've been in the world of trading, on my own as a retail trader for about 15 years now at this point. Got into options about 7 years ago or so. So I've seen a lot of different market cycles within the options world. And then got into automating some option strategies about 4 years ago. And that's when things started to get really fun, where I was able to take the strategies that I was trading manually and code them, put them into a bot, and then have that trading bot essentially trade my strategy, my options strategies for me. So that's my background. I've been a retail trader. My educational and professional background is in accounting. I'm a CPA, licensed CPA. Did 7 years at a Big Four accounting firm, and of course, all of this trading on the side. So, that's a bit about me and my options background.
We won't hold your being a CPA against you at all here on the network. So don't worry.
Yeah, we like that. We like that here.
And Dillon, same question for you, sir.
Perfect, Mark. Yeah, thanks so much for having us on the show. I'm Dillon Del Rosso, co-founder of PeakBot, and I handle the sales, marketing, business development, partnership side of the business here, while Ben does everything else, all the fun stuff. To give a little context, I've been retail trading since 2016 when I graduated college. Repeat loser in the markets for years. Never really had the time or the interest in figuring out how to make it work, like so many retail traders, until Ben and I got together on this whole automated trading concept for the everyday person. And he introduced it to me about 4.5 years ago before we started this business. And we haven't looked back. As soon as I was in a sales meeting and I had a bot trading for me, I was hooked and I was never going to trade manually again. So my background, again, sales and marketing, both B2B and B2C. I worked in the world of sports for the University of Maryland, as well as the New York Jets, for any sports fans out there, although there shouldn't be many proud Jets fans.
I was going to say, we won't hold that against you either, being a part of the Jets.
Yeah, no. I was there when Sam Darnold was the quarterback, which wasn't nothing exciting.
Well, you both kind of touched on it. You kind of hit on that term automated trading a few times. I think our listeners can probably guess what we're talking about today. But let's get into that a little bit. PeakBot, what the heck is it? What is this thing you have created?
Awesome. Great question. It's the question, Mark. PeakBot, to give you a 10,000-foot flyover, it's an automated trading platform built for the everyday retail trader. More specifically, options selling strategies. So we take well-known, time-tested option selling strategies that have been around for decades, and we automate them for the everyday person. The way we go about doing that, Mark, is we connect with your broker. So we're commercial developers and partners with different brokers, Charles Schwab, Tasty Trade, Thier, etc., more to come. And you connect your PeakBot account to your broker. From there, all you need to do is select what strategy you want to automate, select the stocks from our watch list, and that's it, you're done. Hands-free trading, as we like to call it, a stock trader in your pocket. This is the next wave of retail trading here, is finding easy ways to automate your portfolio. We did it with well-known option strategies. And that's PeakBot at a very high level, just putting a stock trader in the pocket of everyday retail traders.
Well, you mentioned premium harvesting. Why did you guys decide to start solely on that, solely on the premium harvesting side?
Yeah, Ben, why don't I take the first crack at this, and if you have details, add it. Funny enough, Mark, we didn't start in the world of options when we started this business. We actually started with short-term swing trading, momentum-based strategies on the equity side of things. And that was great in COVID when we were throwing darts at stocks and just making money everywhere. But when the market turned on us a little bit, we were actually advised by a former Wall Street floor trader, options guy. And he was like, look, why aren't you just automating option selling strategies? Well, just go collect premium, generate consistent income, define your risk, select a nice delta, and go. And, we started with the wheel strategy, selling cash secured puts and covered calls, which we've now grown into a couple other strategies. But the results spoke for themselves. It was the most consistent way for us to generate income for our subscribers and our traders. And, Ben, I don't know if you have more context to add there, but once we got into selling premium, we haven't looked back.
Yeah. Just to add to that, when you build out a platform for retail traders, you can't control what the retail trader does, right? And you can't control, we're not financial advisors, so we're not telling people what stocks to trade, right? Or underlying to trade. So when it comes to, protecting the capital as much as we can, it seemed like selling spreads were the best way to go in that regard.
Doesn't surprise me. You talked to an old school floor trader and they got you into selling premium. That is very much the way a lot of us got roped into the business back in the day. But let's get into some of the specifics of the platform. Let's say I come in right now, I'm listening to this, and I'm intrigued. I want to dip my toes into PeakBot. What is the cost and how many different algorithms can I choose from right now?
Yeah, great question. So, very simple to get started. We offer subscriptions between $29 a month to $99 a month. So the only difference between those tiers is essentially how much you can trade a specific stock or underlying. And that's incredibly affordable compared to what's out there, the other automation tools. For us, we didn't want to get rich on subscription. We just wanted for PeakBot to pay for itself. So we've made it as affordable as humanly possible here. And the different strategies, you get all of them. So right now we have 3 automated option selling strategies on our platform. You have access to trade all of them right away. That's the details on the pricing and what they can trade. And we provide them a watch list to select from that's curated every 5 minutes, updated for them. If they want to make a trade that's from a stock that's not on the watch list, the bot won't trade it. So we're playing a little bit of defense for you there.
All right, interesting. So you mentioned there are 3 primary algorithms right now. You mentioned the wheel. So that's one of them. I'm assuming the other 2 are maybe covered call and short put, or what are the other 2 out there?
Close. So we've got a credit spread strategy. We call it our trend spread. So we're actually using a few different technical indicators to help us make an assumption of trend. If we're assuming that an underlying is in a bullish trend, the bot will sell a put credit spread. And the way that we set up our spreads are we will sell the 30 delta right around the 30 delta and we'll buy the 10 delta. So statistically giving us about a 70-ish% chance of winning the trade. And then, of course, for any of the math nerds in the audience here, it's 70%-ish chance of getting a full win, and then there's about a 10% chance of a max loss, a little less than 10% chance of a max loss. And then you've got that 20%-ish gray area, whereby we're selling weekly spreads on that strategy. So if the stock price is between the two contracts that we sold and bought on the day of expiration, the bot will actually just roll those contracts for you to the next week. So we've got the trend spread strategy, and we have a 1 DTE iron condor strategy. The way that works is we open up an iron condor, we straddle the 25 delta at about noon every day. And then after the market closes, we're cognizant of the pattern day trading rule. We don't want to break that for anybody. We don't want anybody to be thrown in trader jail for 90 days. So we will set a go till cancel limit order at 5 cents after the market closes. And then the next day, that order exists, and ideally both legs close out at 5 cents. Now, if they don't, at 3:45 Eastern, we'll cancel that order, and the bot will just send a market order to close out of that position and get you out of that trade, so you don't have any chance of assignment. So yeah, it's the wheel, it's the trend spread, and it's the iron condor strategy that you get.
Wow, that was boring. I just said covered calls and short puts. I didn't think one day iron condors. So that's that touches on my next question. I was just going to ask you then, because everything 0 day is hot right now. Are you guys playing in that market? It sounds like you are, but 1 day removed effectively.
Well, we don't want to give away too much, but we've recently started working with trading educators and alert providers like Discord owners to automate their strategy. So we're working with a well-known account, won't say who it is right now, but they're coming to the table with the 0 DTE SPX strategy that we're automating. We should be launching with them within the next month. And yeah, we're very excited for that because you're right, 0 DT is hot right now.
And you mentioned your watch list. You just mentioned SPX. Can I assume some of the other big ones, your Apples and NVIDIAs? What's in my watch list, my universe that I could choose from?
Yeah. So for the iron condor, you're going to find, SPY, QQQ, SPX, and the cash settled stocks there. And then for, some of our weekly credit spread strategies, it will be more vast. You will find your Apples, your Amazons, your Googles on there. What we're actually doing is, roughly speaking, we're pulling the top 50 to 150 most liquid options chains, right? If you're going to pay for a bot to place a trade for you, we better fill your order. Right, so we don't want you getting into some non-liquid chain. So that plus a handful of other vetting processes, we want to make sure it's not overly volatile. We want to make sure it's paying enough, a net premium. But yeah, we're typically giving our traders, I'd say 75 to 100 stocks to trade from, and the big names are on there.
And you mentioned the deltas on the spread trading. Our audience likes to get into the weeds. You mentioned the wheel. It's a very popular strategy for a lot of our listeners. There's a million different ways you can construct a wheel. If I talk to 5 different professional traders, they'll give me 5 different ways they like to set up their wheels. How do you guys like to set up your wheels with your algos?
So it's pretty similar to the trend spread strategy. We actually offer 2 options for our wheel. There's the wheel and then there's the vertical wheel. Our preference is the vertical wheel. So we will still sell a put credit spread to start the wheel process, right? Now, if the stock price is between the sold strike and the bought strike at the time of expiration, we won't roll that position. We'll allow that the shares to be assigned to us. However, we do like to have that bought put to give us a little bit of protection on downside, right? We've been burned a couple of times trading through earnings, and stock just tanks after earnings, and then we're stuck holding the bag for quite a while. So we like using the vertical wheel. So in the vertical wheel, we'll stick to selling right around the 30 delta. We'll look for what's closest to but less than 30 delta, and then same thing on the bought side. We'll buy the strike that's closest to but less than the 10 delta. Now, if you wanted to trade just a traditional wheel, cash secured put to covered call, then we're looking at the 25 delta. We want to give ourselves a little bit more buffer room. We want to give ourselves a little more wiggle to be wrong on that price, right? So we'll sell right around the 25 delta. But anything less than that, then it starts to become, you start asking yourself the question, is the premium really worth the risk of this trade, right? So we typically don't like to sell any further away from like the 20 delta.
Yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense. Like we said, the wheel is a fun strategy exactly for that reason. It is highly customizable. A lot of tweaks people can make. Speaking of tweaks, I'm curious. You said you have your 3 established algos. What if I come to you and say, I prefer my wheels, I like to sell more of an in the money? Can I make tweaks to the algos, or is it just the 3 standard on the menu for now?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask us that, and the simple answer is it's a black box strategy, if you will, right? The parameters are pre-built, so there is not going to be any you adjusting the deltas or the expirations or anything like that. Mark, we actually tested that out in beta with our traders, giving them more of a decision making as to like where they might want to set their deltas or their strikes or whatever. What we found was people were shooting themselves in the foot pretty immediately, and it was becoming very easy for them to code a losing strategy. So we've learned over the 4 years we've been doing this, keep the decision making and the emotions out of it, stick to the strategy, and let it rock from there. So no, you can't adjust deltas or strikes or anything like that. It's always going to be doing the same thing.
And you mentioned testing. I'm assuming there's back tests available on the site so folks can come in and they could see the efficacy of all these different strategies across a variety of underlyings over time.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're tracking all of our live results, actually. So unlike others in this space, we're super transparent about all of the trades. You can go onto our website right now, usepeakbot.com. We have a results page, and you can see all of the tickers that have been traded since, I think we've been tracking and posting since October of 23. And you can see the win rate for each ticker, how many weeks it's been trading, what the average win is for each ticker. And that gets updated on a monthly basis at this point. So yeah, we're tracking that type of information, and we're publicizing it too.
That's good to hear. And you mentioned, keeping things to popular underlyings, I should say, to prevent issues with liquidity. The other side of popularity, of course, is let's say PeakBot takes off and now you have thousands, tens of thousands of people all jumping into the same iron condor algo on, let's say, Apple. All of a sudden I'm coming in and I'm the 1,001st person to join up with that algo. That's probably going to impact my execution, or I'm going to be behind the other 1,000 people. I know this is kind of a dream scenario. You want to have all these users. That's a great first world problem to have, but have you workshopped that down the line a little bit where some of these algorithms start to get popular, execution might become an issue? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So Ben, I'll take the first stab at it. There's a couple of thoughts that come to mind. This actually came up the other day with a partner of ours, and they said, look, we don't want to be in the crowded trading. Like, we don't want to be in a crowded trade. For us, that's specifically why a lot of our strategies are selling options and are weekly. Truth be told, if you enter our strategy at 12 o'clock versus 1 o'clock Eastern, yeah, you might have some different strikes, but for the most part, it's going to be a very similar trade that you would have entered even an entire hour before that. Additionally, at scale, we've had thoughts about how do we control from, not as favorable order placement or even stock slippage, right, at a certain scale. We've had thoughts about actually capping the number of traders who can place a trade on a specific underlying. At scale, that will likely have to build something like that into our system. Right now, none of that's an issue. Everybody's being filled at essentially the same exact time, and we're not affecting any stocks, of course. So, Ben, I don't know if you were going to add anything to that, but it has been a thought for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, eventually, you're probably going to have to cap some of these. If the first world scenario materializes and you have 8 million users beating a path to your door, then probably maybe first come, first serve on getting the crack on the juicy SPY iron condor algorithm before the rest of the folks out there. We mentioned execution. You mentioned some of the brokers. Just give us the list again. Who can I execute PeakBot trades through right now?
Yeah, so we are commercial developers with Charles Schwab. So that's including all former TD Ameritrade accounts that have moved over to Schwab. We're there. We're ready for you. So we're on Thinkorswim, as well as Thier, who have been great partners of ours. We do a couple live shows with them. and Tasty Trade. So we're available on those 3 platforms currently right now. You can find ways to link and get created on our site pretty easily. We do have a few others in the pipeline coming, Mark. Public. We've had great chats with them, and as soon as their API becomes available, we should be up and running on that platform. Webull as well, which is an interesting one. They're actually getting ready to release their own public API, at which point we would be, in conversation, go to that platform. We were approved for E-Trade as well. So E-Trade's actually the next one coming. That's where we're at right now. We want to continue to expand as many brokerages as possible, of course.
And people may be confused by the logistics. Let's just walk through it now. You mentioned it's $29 to $99 a month, but they're not housing their accounts with you. They're keeping their accounts with Schwab or Trady or whoever it is, and then they're just paying this fee to you, and you're executing on their behalf through the Tradiers or the Schwabs, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, essentially all PeakBot is doing is sending buy-or-sell signals, orders to the broker's API, and then it's actually being executed through your broker. So it's as if you're paying PeakBot to click there and place the trade for you while you're busy with life, right? We say all the time, Mark, how is somebody who works a 9-to-5 job supposed to trade in a market that's only open from 9:30 to 4? It's near impossible, and that's our target audience: the hobby trader, the everyday person. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of that hobby trader and the retail market in general, you guys are certainly launching this at an interesting time. If you had come in, a few years maybe pre-pandemic, would have been a very different retail scene. But now, the retail side of the market is certainly the most dynamic side of the market. They're doing things that we never really thought retail would be doing a few years ago, like 0-day, for example. If you had told me a couple of years ago that retail would be diving into 0-day XPX, I would have said you were an insane person. Yet that's the market we're in right now. So it's certainly white hot from a retail perspective, and certainly from your perspective, there is a lot of grist for the mill for you folks in terms of getting retail on board and comfortable with an options algo platform versus maybe a few years ago where it might have been a little bit more of an uphill sled.
Yeah, that's right. And it all really comes down to trust. That's the big thing in this industry, and that's why we are so transparent with our strategies, with our results. If you want to trade our strategy manually, go to our website. We literally outline every little detail. So you could step in and trade these strategies manually as much as you want. We're just counting on the fact that after you do it 4, 5, 6 times on your own, you're going to say, why am I not just paying the bot $30 a month to do this for me? Right? That's our approach here. We're not coming to the table saying we've created, this mind-blowing algorithm that you need to sign an NDA to see. We're taking, like Dillon mentioned earlier, these commonly used options selling strategies that have been around for decades, and we're just automating them. We like to tell people we're not reinventing the wheel, we're just automating it.
I'm confused. Why do I have to sign that NDA then to chat with you guys? I must have missed it.
Don't do it.
I'm going to tear that up right now. No, I'm just kidding, listeners. But you mentioned trust. The other side of that is obviously security. People are giving you access to their accounts, so they might obviously be a little bit curious about what protections you're putting in place so malevolent actor can't get in there and start spamming away on some downside puts. So what kind of security steps have you put in place?
Yeah, totally. So again, without getting too nerdy, we integrate via OAuth, which essentially only gives us the ability to place trades on somebody's behalf. We can't do anything else. We can't move any money. We can't do anything like that. So in the event that, like you just mentioned, if somebody wants to come in and like spam puts or something like that, you actually can't do that with PeakBot because we limit the amount of contracts you can trade for a particular ticker. So there are safeguards in place to where you can't get yourself into, an account blow-up position, if you will.
Oh, and speaking of accounts, is there an account size you'd recommend people coming to this with? Probably hard to do this with $1,000 or a couple of $1,000s. Is it 25, 50, something along those lines?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. The average PeakBot subscriber automates somewhere between 10 and 25K, per week in their automated portfolio. I know that's kind of a wide range, but there's certainly outliers on both sides of that. We have traders who are putting, close to $1 million a week into our automation. Then there's people with 2,500. And yes, it's not as fun to trade with 2,500 on these, option selling strategies, but we're selling spreads, we're selling condors. It doesn't take too much cash to place these trades, so you can get started with that 2,500. Anything below $2,000, you're out because you don't have a margin account and you can't trade spreads. But with the price, we do have some of you in the smallest accounts coming in here and having success.
All right, gentlemen, that music means we are out of time, but this has been a fascinating conversation. But before we go, I like to leave our listeners wanting more. So if you want to leave them with any hints, any teases, you mentioned E-Trade is coming down the pike. What else can our listeners look forward to coming down the pike from you guys over there at PeakBot in the coming months?
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, again, thanks so much for having us on here. Some quick, housekeeping information. Look, it's very clear PeakBot's on the route to becoming the household name for automated trading because there's not one. The retail trader needs somebody in their corner. We're on our way to doing that. We want to continue to make it easy, affordable, and transparent for the everyday person to trade hands-free. And a couple big things to look out for in the future is we're going to continue to partner with alert providers, trading academies, educators to automate their strategies and provide, simple, trading strategies to get automated for them and their audiences as well. So you got a strategy that you want to automate, come talk to us, and we are the guys for the job.
And if they want to come talk to you, where should they go? What should they do?
Go to usepeakbot.com, usepeakbot.com, and we'll make sure this is in the bio or something. They can text us at our business line, 973-888-1166.
There you go. Usepeakbot.com, listeners, a place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. If you are intrigued by automating some of your premium harvesting, it might be an intriguing one for you to check out. That is going to do it for us on the network today. Back again tomorrow with a doubleheader. Of course, we've got Dan joining us for a little bit of options boot camp action. Will be our 301st episode spectacular tomorrow. So taking on all comers on the question front. That should be fun. And then for you pro folks coming up after that, we've got our buddy, Mr. Jim Carroll, Vixologist, coming in to tackle all of your questions on all things vol. And given the last week or so in vol, I should have a lot of questions. Then join us for the Pro Q&A tomorrow. Those will be tomorrow afternoon starting at 1 and then the Pro Q&A at 3 Central. So get those questions in now for the Pro Q&A via the members hotline. Then, of course, back again on Thursday, our usual doubleheader of the option block with our friends over there at SIBO, and the Flow Master will be joining us, followed by This Week in Futures Options, our friends over there at CME. Friday, back again, another doubleheader. Vol Views, of course, who will join us as a guest. You got to tune in to find out, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. After that, one last time for the week, exclusively for you pro folks over there with a little bit of options oddities, talking about all of our unusual trades. I was just show chatting with the Rock Lobster today about whether we're going to roll our calls there in Portillo's or not. So should be interesting. Check it out over there. Options Oddities on Friday, or of course on the Pro Podcast feed. Whenever you have time, then we're back again next week with another great interview session. See you then.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.